And first of all, thanks to Marta for inviting us, and thanks to all of you guys for turning up tonight. Both of us are originally from Cologne, and we've worked in London for the last couple of years.
And we are moving to Berlin this summer, so yay!
So, hey! If anyone knows about a nice room, let us know after the talk. So yeah, we've been working in the animation industry in London for most of the time, and first we sort of worked on our own individual projects, and then about a couple of years ago we started working together on a project called The Squirrel and the Penguin, and that was when both of us were kind of sort of finished with university and thought we'd all start working in the animation industry and design amazing things and work on amazing jobs. And unfortunately, that sort of didn't happen as quickly as we had hoped. But what happened is that one day I got an email from the Jewish Film Festival London, and they said that they have a kind of competition for a short film, and the only thing you need to do is submit a script. You don't need to be Jewish. It just needs...
Yes. So yes, it was just to submit a script, but the only problem was it had to be in some way Jewish, in some way related to Jewish culture, Jewish history or whatever. And neither of us is Jewish and neither of us has particular expertise, but we still really wanted to make a film or wanted to do something creative and fun. So we started talking about what we wanted to do, and we wanted to do something, maybe something cute with animals, like a little fable, something funny, something nice, or and then we tried lots of things and sort of started talking about it, but every time we just hit a wall and like, hold on, no, we can't say that, that's not going to work, that's completely insensitive. And then we also sort of tried different angles and found out that actually we just kind of don't really know enough to to say anything that has any meaning or any meaningful content or whatever. But then we found actually that our conversation that we had about how to make a Jewish film, not being Jewish and not knowing very much about Jewish culture, was actually kind of quite funny. So we handed that in our conversation as a script, and luckily the jury agreed that it was quite funny, and we got to make our film. So.
Yeah, so we started designing some kind of layout, style frames to see what we want the film to look like, and we had to show that at the sort of final pitch as well, and we designed the squirrel and the penguin, where the penguin stands for the Jews and the squirrel stands for the Arabs actually. And we thought we would never ever get away with that, but we pitched that to a panel of sort of 10 people from the Jewish Film Foundation, and they liked it. So we're just going to show a little clip from the film. Unfortunately, we can't really show the whole film because that would just take a little bit too long. So let me just move this over.
Oh, I had this idea a while ago about penguins on holiday in the mountains. Now, the penguins could be the Jews, and they go to this cabin, but when they get there, they find there are some hibernating squirrels in there already.
They're the Arabs?
Yeah, they're hibernating, and they won't get along that well, but eventually they realise that they have to.
Is that it? How about we make some kind of a story arc about, how they become friends?
Ooh, how about we have a bear instead of squirrels? Oh, that would be way cooler. A big, dangerous animal, and maybe he can eat a penguin.
No! We can't have Arabs eating Jews! No way! How about a peace idea? There was this football team with Israelis and Palestinians playing together.
That's cool. Football film, I like that.
Hey, what about food?
Oh, no, I had gefilte fish once. Pretty bad stuff. It was like mushed up cold fish with a carroty sweet taste to it. It was like some kind of demented sushi.
Well, there's more to Jewish food than that. There's the whole kosher thing about not eating lamb cooked in its mother's milk.
No, that's gross.
So that was a little clip from our film. Thank you. So yeah, before, I don't know where this humming is coming from. Maybe there's something we can do about that. Yeah, so we started off designing some characters and just kind of sketching things. And what was nice about this project is for the first time we had a little bit of a budget, so we could actually work with some people and pay them a little bit of money as well. At the very beginning, we just worked from home, and we worked with like a modeler via the internet. James was a great guy, and what was really interesting is that you have to be really precise in terms of like telling the people what you want. So we made all these little drawings of like how the fingers should be and stuff like that, and that was great also because while doing that we kind of figured out what we wanted the characters to be like. We've got a little making of as well, which we can show, which gives you like a little bit of an idea. Oh no, just the hum back. Of what the production process was like. I'm just going to play this in hand.
Yes, so once we had our animator starting, actually 3 days before our animators were due to start, we still didn't have a studio, but then we found one, and it was amazing. And the people we rented, those are our amazing animators. They were wonderful. It was such a nice team. But to find the studio, it was sort of literally 3 days before, and then a friend said, I've got a space, you can maybe fit 3 desks in there, and we fitted 9, so there we go. So yeah, those are some of our models, the rigging process, which might have been a little bit more complicated than necessary, and the fish scene that had to be rigged quite specially and sort of crazily fun, yeah.
And next is like we collected some glitches, like when stuff really doesn't render like it should be, or point caches explode like in the middle of the scene. But there's some sort of beauty of it, like his eyes are sort of locked to the origin of the scene, and they're just still dancing away. So after this project, or sort of, there was some overlap actually. We worked on something called Don't Swim Off the Lunch, which was probably technically the first sort of proper commission. It was there was an exhibition run by a Chinese shoe manufacturer called Anywalk, and they wanted some promotional event, but where they wanted artists to create any sort of artwork really. Which is really good because the brief was very open. The brief was like daydreaming, so just started creating some images. I always wanted to work with live action backgrounds just because I hadn't done this before, and I also thought, well, you'll definitely save work designing all the backgrounds. Just sort of came up with some images of like weird creatures and landscapes in our living room, and we pitched that to those guys, and they really liked it. And then we started to sort of develop some more detailed character designs and start to think about maybe like a little story, and went through like various iterations of designing birds and stuff like that. And those are some of the final designs. Oh, yeah, one of the conditions was also there has to be some print work. So we designed then these things that were then hung on the walls during the exhibition. Again, some of the characters, and this is how they look when they're in 3D space, which is quite interesting. So because there wasn't that much money and that much time, we designed them flat, so they are like cutout characters, but they are rigged like a 3D rig would be, which is quite nice because you can animate them quite well. You still have all the flexibility and undo and stuff like that. So we're just going to show you the final result, which is about 2 minutes something, with a beautiful hum. It's a lot of black at the moment, but it'll start in a second.
So that was kind of, well, as Jens said, the first commission, sort of the first sort of semi-commercial project. But we both really wanted to work in commercials or direct commercials because we thought that was a good way to actually earn money while still doing sort of creative things. And we still kind of think that. And so we're just going to talk about our favorite commercial project so far, which is called Connect, which is actually for Obamacare. So we've been asked to do or to make some commercials for Obamacare in Kentucky. So we've learned a lot about Kentucky in the last year. Originally, I don't know, they didn't really know what they wanted. They just came to us and said, right, we need a lot of characters. We need basically we need Kentuckians, and the Kentuckians are super diverse, and we need all walks of life. And yeah, so they asked us, they gave us this brief, design some characters of Kentucky.
So those are actually designs from the pitch, like they didn't make it into the final thing at all. And at the beginning they also, they wanted some really sort of simple things. They said like, this commercial has to be for all sort of walks of life, so it has to be reading level grade 6, so everything should be very, very simplified. We designed these characters, and then we stuck them on this background, which they absolutely loved. This might be like the thing that won us the pitch. I don't know, like for the 4 weeks after, in every call we heard how much they liked this barn. But not so much the characters. They didn't exactly hate them, but they were like, they didn't feel it's the right thing. So after the simple ones, we then sort of designed some others and just sort of kept throwing images at them. Of like a multitude of things, and colored some up and sent them over, and they sort of didn't really give a lot of feedback and just said like, oh yeah, they're kind of like, you know, just going the right way but not quite there. And then we just collected a lot of images of characters we liked, like quite different ones, and sent them over and said, well, can you maybe like pick one or two that like you think is going the right way? And we didn't hear from them for a while. And then when we poked them and asked, how did you choose something, they managed to choose this. Just a little bit, yeah, difficult. But we kind of locked onto these cute buttony eyes and then worked with like a character designer to kind of work from that. And also work some of our previous designs in there. I think there's the lady with the waving flags down there. And then colored some of them up and sent them over. And that was in August. And
yeah, so we sent that over in August, and they're like, oh yeah, we love it, you love it, we'll show it to the client. Oh yeah, the client loves it. But then we didn't hear from them for months and months and months. So we thought, okay, project's dead, that's a shame. We spent a lot of time on the pitch, but we like what we pitched and whatever. But then just before Christmas, we got the call and said, guys, Kentucky is happening. Like, okay, that's all the information we got. It's happening. We don't know what, we don't know how much, we don't know if it's even going to be animation, but something's happening. So, of course, again, the first thing we had to do was design more characters. So, rather than deciding that they wanted animation, they said, okay, first we'll do a print campaign for which we need a set of characters. And then we worked with another character designer, because the one we worked with before wasn't available, and we worked with a friend of ours, actually, Emmanuel Walker, who designed some amazing characters. And for those one, they made us a really detailed shopping list of characters that we needed. So it was like African American, 30 to 40-year-old working in a blue-collar job and things like that. So very detailed. So we came up.
Yeah, those are some of the characters that are in the commercial. It's like maybe a third of them. Like they got us to design way more, but it was quite fun to do that actually. Should we just show one of them maybe?
Yes, we'll show.
We'll show one of them.
Show one of them.
No, the sound doesn't work.
Had to use the ER as their primary physician, who had to go without regular checkups. For everyone who had to choose between medicine and a mortgage payment. For everyone who's been turned down for coverage, or hasn't been able to provide it to their employees. For everyone who needs health insurance, but hasn't been able to get it. A new day is about to arrive. Introducing Connect, Kentucky's healthcare connection. Quality healthcare coverage for every Kentuckian.
Yay. So yeah, when we were at this point, really, it was quite funny. They didn't really know that we were going to make animated ones. And then once they told us that they now want some animated TV, sort of more infomercials than commercials actually, they got us to think about backgrounds. So we started to think about that barn image again, that they really liked the barn, and designed like lots of like little thumbnails of beautiful Kentucky landscape, and did some style frames of like things we really liked. And thought that this could be the look that we are going to go for, and we really loved this image. But unfortunately, they felt it was a little bit too arty, not sort of solid enough. And also what they then told us that, yes, we do have beautiful landscape, and yes, we love the image of the barn, but we don't really want to show that a lot because we don't want to be seen as like the hillbilly people too much. So we had to put in like lots of suburbia, and like one of their favorite words was multifamily housing. So kind of housing blocks like out of the window, something like this, but nicer. They wanted to see. I'm just going to show quickly the design process for the backgrounds, which was the first time we used this technique called projection mapping. It's not really rocket science, but it's quite nice. You start sort of with a really simple 3D layout, and then you literally kind of take a snapshot of that and stick it into Photoshop, and you kind of project these images through the camera when you in 3D onto the geometry, which is a nice sort of workaround to get some kind of like quite flat illustrative imagery, and a workaround also you bypass lots of the 3D bits like UV unwrapping and yeah, all that sort of more technical stuff that is not so nice to do. And yeah, it's kind of like more like illustration with a little bit of 3D, which is quite nice. And we can show one more, I think, maybe of that.
Because actually, apparently, Kentucky's done really well with their healthcare thing, so that's why they got us to do more showing off how great Kentucky is.
All over America, people are talking about Connect, Kentucky's healthcare connection, and how easy it is to enroll to get the quality health coverage you and your family deserve. There's still time for you to join the thousands of Kentuckians who have already enrolled. Simply log on to connect.ky.gov. Enter some basic information to get started, and we do the rest. Connect is here, and it's working, to provide quality health coverage for every Kentuckian.
That was the money shot.
So I think overall we did about 5 of those videos so far, and there's another one coming in the summer. But what we really like doing is sort of personal side projects, like our little paper monsters that we've got there. So yeah, those were made basically as sort of little promo things where like people could download them off the website, print them on their own computer and fold their own monsters. So, and then they also come with little tiny puny humans to feed the monsters and to play with.
And actually, like, if you can download them from our website. You need a little bit thicker paper than office paper and some patience to build them. Like the red sort of thing in the foreground, the folding pattern looks like this, and it takes maybe like 1.5 hours and a scalpel and super glue and some love for stuff like that to build them. But then this little guy, I think his name is the Bone Cruncher. He like his folding pattern looks like this, and like, you know, children would be able to do it as well. It's like 5-10 minutes. papercraft fun, I'd say. And that was just a little project we kind of did for ourselves, and also to mail out to people that we wanted to work with. None of them really got back to us about that, but it was fun to do the project.
They might have found it too hard to make the monsters, so they didn't really know what they were getting in the mail.
And from sort of that project and another project, something that we did was sort of just draw monsters, which is also really nice if you work a lot like with 3D and the computer, to just get like a brush pen out and just sort of like make these guys on paper, like no eraser, no nothing, just kind of draw lots of monsters. I still had these old graphic markers that I hadn't used for a long time because they were so expensive and so precious. And eventually I kind of started to do some colorful monsters. And that was just like a sort of side project. Like whenever there was some downtime, or you were bored of looking at the screen, just like make some monsters. But what happened, or what's gonna happen, is actually that they're gonna be printed on cushions, which they look quite nice. So I don't know exactly when that's gonna happen, but in a couple of weeks or something, like they'll be able to, they'll be for sale online. So if you like monsters and cushions, then maybe go for them. The next project is a project that we didn't work on together, but we still want to talk about it. So I'm going to hand over the microphone to Anna.
Yes, so that was a project I directed together with two other directors. It's a personal project that took about 2.5 years to make, a short film. And it's a film about a boy with schizophrenia in his therapy session with his mum and his doctor. And I'm going to show you a little clip of it, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about it.
We could try you on another medication, Sam. Clozapine. It might help you not be readmitted. You see? It's a drug that potentially can have a damaging effect on your bone marrow, but it is very effective.
Drugs make you dead.
The jabs do keep you out of hospital, though, Sam. Maybe venlafaxine would help.
I don't want to take any more drugs.
But it can make you feel suicidal. Cannabis can make these paranoid thoughts worse. So just stay out of hospital. I'd say stay off the skunk and stay on your meds. It is your choice. Maybe olanzapine would help with the suicidal feelings, but it can make you fat. Not to mention brain damage. I know this is difficult for you, Sam. Maybe olanzapine would help with the suicidal feelings. It can make you fat. Not to mention brain damage.
Sam!
It's stuffy in here, isn't it? Shall we open the window?
Oh, I wouldn't.
Bit of fresh air.
Through the hawthorn, the wild wind blows.
If he runs away again, I'll go mad.
Jessica, I know you're doing the best you can.
Through the hawthorn.
You're talking rubbish.
Through the hawthorn, the chill wind blows. Through the hawthorn, the chill wind blows. Through the hawthorn, the chill wind blows.
Rubbish.
Does God believe in you?
You're ill.
I'm well. You're ill.
You've made me ill.
Stop bullying me!
You're bullying me.
Get her out of my head! She's in my head!
What? You're in my fucking head too, Sam!
You had me locked up!
You're an animal!
Sam! Oh, please!
I can't carry on.
So yeah, this, as I said, it was quite a long process to make it, and working with 2 other directors, and this was the first project we worked on together as well. We just spent months and months trying to come up with ideas of how to make that idea of like a therapy session work with 3 animation directors, and work as an animation itself, because the script kind of worked as a drama even, but we really wanted to have a reason why there was animation. So we gone through months and months of discussions. We had this idea that we wanted to work with actors, but sort of obscure their heads in a way. So this was a phase that I think we held on to for about 2 months. Like this one where I played with tulip leaves and whatever, just do sort of stupid things, and trying out lots of things. Until we hit this idea of the rotoscope triptych, and here's some early style frames, and that sort of really kind of was a bit of a breakthrough for us, I think, because we'd been sitting in our studio for months, just sort of kind of arguing and discussing and driving each other crazy. I think we were very close to mental illness ourselves. But then sort of the rotoscope really worked for us, even though none of us really is into rotoscoping as a style from the aesthetic or the like actual work to do it. But we thought for this one it actually worked really well, because it does kind of keep the continuity across the 3 panels, but also allowed us to work quite autonomously once we'd actually locked down the edit. Of course, it also meant having a shoot with actors, which was quite fun. And here are my co-directors, Gemma and Pia, in the bottom right corner. Second part of the shoot was probably not so fun for our actor, because I chased him into the Thames in September. So I think he was quite cold, but I did buy him a very nice lunch, and I kept feeding him tea and whiskey and stuff. So I think he was probably fine. And yeah, I guess ultimately the project did pay off, because just last week we won a little golden pony in Stuttgart at the Animation Festival, which now lives in our studio with the monsters.
And so the monsters are a really good transition, because we've got one more project with monsters. We kind of love to do some Christmas projects, like just little kind of animated cards, which I don't know how it started, but it just sort of evolved into a almost tradition. And also it's really good because for a personal project, you have a deadline. It has to be done before Christmas. So that sometimes really helps. So I had drawn lots of other monsters kind of inspired by piñatas, and then I started sort of making them in 3D and rigging them, and they were just sort of floating around on a hard disk, and did some sort of tests with them. And then it was a really nice example of collaboration when Anna saw them, and she was like, well, they could be like, you know, kind of some extravagant Christmas decorations. And that's when we sort of started to shoot a little Christmas tree in our studio. And then we actually scavenged some characters from our other projects and stuck them in there as well. You'll see like the bear from the Squirrel and the penguin, and so with the monsters together, that became a little Christmas card which we called O Tannenbaum. And we worked with David Kamp, a Berlin-based sound designer, actually, on this one. So I'm just going to play this. It's quite short.
Which brings us to the last project, which is this year's Christmas film. And it's twice as long as the last year, so I hope we're not having, and twice as, well, way more elaborate. So if we continue this way, I think in 10 years we'll have to make a feature film for Christmas. So we'll have to stop ourselves at some point. But we just love making Christmas films. So this one's called 'Tis the Season. And it's about Santa and what he and his mates do in their time off when it isn't Christmas. So what we did was we designed the characters and then stuck them in on sort of backgrounds, again using the live action backgrounds, but animated characters thing we've done before. And here's Santa in his kitchen having a cup of tea, and a Christmas tree visiting his family. And then we thought, okay, so but what's the angle? What's Santa's thing? And then we realized, okay, Santa's thing is cosplay. So.
So yeah, we thought, well, why not let him wear a chicken suit? And then you go online and you Google like man in a chicken suit, and you find some really cool images. And we thought, why stop at chicken suits? He could wear like a kind of monster suit. And the same thing, like you go online, you Google like guy in a monster suit, and some pretty disturbing images of children sometimes. And then we thought, well, he could also maybe like a little bit of S&M and sex sometimes. And then you go online and you Google S&M and sex, and you find some cool images. After that, we then started to build him as like a sort of 3D character. And as Anna said, we we talked our friends into like letting us shoot in their kitchen and living room, and then use the live action background plates to put them in again. And I really wanted to try out HDR lighting, which was absolutely useless because in the end, first I took really bad images of those light probes, and then in the end also the look was so flat that it was absolutely not necessary to light the characters whatsoever. So yeah, that's going to be the last thing we show and we will leave you with. I don't think there's going to be a Q&A, but if any of you guys want to chat with us, like we're just going to be around drinking beer, and hopefully you will enjoy this last piece, and hopefully you had a little bit of fun from our talk. So yet another Christmas piece.
So, what should I call you? Mr. Claus? Father Christmas? St. Nick?
Santa's fine.
Great, Santa. So tell me, why do you like to wear this in your time off?
Sometimes I'm just happy to get out of it for a while, you know. Slip away from the pressure. I have to deliver a perfect show all by myself. I'm probably one of the most recognized people on the planet. Everyone wants to sit on my lap. When I wear a costume, it's different. I'm relaxed. No one knows who I am.
I love diving. It's impossible to catch fire. And great exercise if you don't move much in your job.
Hi! Hello. I see you spend a lot of time here.
Yeah, I got some work done. So what? In our business, it's really important to keep up.
So true.
If you just look a tiny bit crumpled, you're out of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, people always say it's what's inside that counts. Well, that's bullshit.
So, how do you unwind? This looks cozy.
Ah, yes. This has always been my favorite costume. It makes me feel secure. I've always wanted to have a tail.
Sometimes I feel like I just need to get back to my roots.
Bad Santa. Take that. Naughty.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, thanks so much, Jens and Anna. Maybe give it up again for them. That was a nice presentation.